Okay, so we've done our foundations, got them granulated and defined correctly. We've worked out what is a true control as opposed to support activity, verification activity. Now we need to measure the effectiveness of these controls. So we need to measure how good are these things. And why is that? Well, we know not all controls are effective as each other. If I've got 50 controls, not all going to have the same level of risk reduction and effectiveness compared to others. And that's why we want to apply some type of criteria to measure effectiveness. And we also know that for critical controls, we should only consider those controls that have high effectiveness. So the strategy and the mechanism we use is a two-part process to measure the effectiveness of controls. And we'll just work through an example right now. So let's think about the one barricading of drop zones as an example. So down the left-hand side here, we have the human action component of the control, and we have the object technology component of the control. So we know a barricading, that's a system, that people do some stuff, and we have an object that needs to be put in place. So that's why we've got a two-part process here. So coverage, availability, and reliability of the human action of the component of the control. And on the left-hand side, it's pretty much how well that control is working in the areas. Like, is it across all the areas where we need it to be? And let's say, we're in a processing plant, so we're pretty good. The humans are pretty good at setting up drop zones. So we'll do the 90 to 95% in there. Now, in terms of the object, let's say that most of the time we use barricading tape. Maybe sometimes we might use some witch's hats. So we've got a lot of variability. And sometimes we just use, some rope or something like that. So we're probably not as good at that. So we'll come in here. So the human action is pretty good. The object component is pretty ordinary. So we finished up in good. Now we move over to the impact, the degree to which the control impacts on the risk itself. So does it significantly reduce the risk? Does it reduce the risk? Does it slightly decrease? Doesn't change, or does it increase the risk? And so we're coming in from our previous matrix through here. So we're coming in at good, and we're asking ourselves the question on the drop zone. So let's say that our drop zones, when in place, has a significant impact because it eliminates people from being in the area. So we come in at good, and I won't say significant, actually, let's just go reduce. So we come out at very good adequacy for the control of barricading of drop zones. We applied a two-part process and we came out with very good adequacy. All right, and then the work is to do that same type of assessment for all of the controls, all of the true controls. And if we went through that and we identified a control as not being effective, then there's at least three options. So let's say I identified that, look, there's variability. We might use rope, we might use barricading tape, we might use witch's hats. So one of the improvement strategies might be, okay, let's put in place, get standardized bollards that we use for drop zones. So that could be an improvement strategy, and that might improve the object component of the control, and that might move it up into even stronger control. Or if you said, look, we just can't change it, well, what else can we do? Could there be a different control we might do? Look, let's just not do it. Or do we come up with some additional controls? So let's say, look, we also have spotter for all of our drop zones, just in case we got some variability. So that's what that process can drive as well. And then what's the output of all of this? Is all of our controls have an effectiveness score, and if there's anything we need to improve, then we've identified that as well. So you can see here is an example for some work we did for a client, and you can see the control effectiveness we flagged for the different controls here. And there's some stuff you can also do about a suite of controls, but I won't get into that at this point. So rounding this out, we know not all controls are effective, and not all are as effective as each other. Applying the effectiveness assessment allows us to perform that calculation and answer those questions. And when we get to critical control selection, we should only be considering controls that have, a good level of effectiveness.